everyone, I hope you're doing so well and welcome to this little video where I compare 3 different yellow ochres. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe if you are new. Thank you so much for amazing comments on my last video. And also, hopefully at the end of this video there will be a funny question and answer and some paintings that I've been working on. I only have 3, they're behind me. Actually I think I have more than that, but those are the 3 that I think are decent enough to show on camera. So yellow ochre, a historical colour, basically the yellow that was used in all the old master paintings. So yellow ochre was cheaper because it was part of the earth colour family. So main colour that you will see in Rembrandt paintings, for example. So if you're a fan of Rembrandt, if you're a fan of the classical art style, you would definitely want to look into getting a yellow ochre. Now I like it so much because it's not really a very strong tinter. It has a very subtle warm tone to it. It's very unique, I think. You have 3 different yellow ochres here. Over the years I bought various ones from various different brands, but at the moment these are the ones that I have, and actually they have some surprising results. So the 3 that I'm going to compare, the first one, Old Holland, one of my favourite brands of all time. The second is Gamblin, another great brand I use on and off, so I don't use as much as I use Old Holland, but when I started oil painting I used Gamblin the most. And then number 3, if I can count, is M. Graham. I've hardly used this one actually. The reason being M. Graham's oil paints dry really slowly, so I think that the paints themselves are absolutely beautiful. They're ground in walnut oil, but as I say, when I started to use them for the first time, I thought these are going to be the paints that I use for the rest of my life, but then I waited for my paintings to dry and it took forever. I think maybe I should start with the Gamblin because I should do this in price order. So I would say, okay, so I've got to say a really funny thing. In the US, Gamblin is cheap, and I've mentioned this before on my channel, but because in the UK we import quite a lot of oil paints, we import a lot of oil paints. The colours that come from other countries, for some strange reason, have really varying prices. So, for example, some paints that are from the US are pretty cheap, and they're just the equivalent of how they are in the US. But then there are other paints like Gamblin that, for some strange reason, are really expensive. So in the UK, in fact, if you buy Gamblin, firstly, Gamblin is not really very widely available. I can think of only 2 shops that sell it, and the price of them is more expensive than Old Holland, which is very unusual because in many countries Old Holland is like the most expensive. And so, and also here, because M. Graham is also made in the US, I find that it is also a really expensive paint here in the UK. It's a pricey, like really luxury brand price-wise. But then I've been on other videos where people have been reviewing M. Graham, and lots of people say like, oh, this is really affordable in the US, so I don't know what's going on. But with Gamblin, this is ground in linseed oil. They usually are, the earth colours in most brands actually are usually ground in linseed oil. In fact, this is a PY43, which is really interesting because I always thought it was PY42. So this has changed my life, this information. Semi-transparent, it says natural hydrated iron oxide, so just an iron oxide basically. And it says actually semi-transparent on the back, which I don't agree with. I actually think that all yellow ochres are opaque, at least the ones that I've tried. Maybe the M. Graham is the only one that leans towards slightly more transparency because it has walnut oil as the binder, but in my personal opinion, that is actually slightly mislabeling. I personally think this is opaque. Interesting is these colours, these yellow ochres all vary quite a lot in my opinion in terms of the colour. From a sort of, if you're just glancing at the paint, you'll think, oh, they all look the same, but actually when you squeeze them out, as you would, and you start painting with them, they do look completely different, I think. This is actually, strangely enough, spoiler, out of the 3, this is my favourite because I feel like the consistency is nice and thick, but it's not too thick, it's not too runny. It has a really nice density to it, but it's, again, really spreadable. It's kind of like a little bit of a contradiction, but I feel it's the most easy to use out of the three, and I think it has the most beautiful colour. It is a really amazing colour. It is that amazing warm earth colour, like yellow earth, and also of kind of dreamy sunsets. It's that type of colour. I just think it is incredible. So I'm going to do the Old Holland. This, I believe, is, I have no idea. This is obviously an iron oxide again, but I don't know what the pigment number is, because Old Holland, I don't know if it's my fault, but their tubes, the tube itself, like the metal part, always stays intact, which I suppose is the most important thing. The label comes off. This is a miracle that the label hasn't come off this. Usually this part comes off first, then this part, then I just have like a blank tube, and everything rubs off, and so it's all rubbed off. So it just says, the only word I can read on it is natural. And I've got an AP rating, but they're all AP because they're all earth colours. So yeah, there we go. And there's no point me showing anyone because you can't read it. I think this might be PY42, but I can't read it. This actually goes under the name Yellow Ochre Deep. I just wanted to make that point because they have two yellow ochres, Yellow Ochre Light and Yellow Ochre Deep, which is a little bit frustrating because I don't know which one out of them is the good one, because I personally am not that big a fan of this paint. As I mentioned before, Old Holland is my favourite oil paint brand, but the thing is that I find this yellow ochre to be quite muted, as in there's not that much pigment in it, and it's also extremely thick. Like out of all their oil colours, they're generally thicker from Old Holland anyway, because they have so much pigment in them. But I found that this particular colour is so thick it almost just drags across the canvas, and it doesn't really move or flow very well, which is unusual for Old Holland, as I say. It tends to lean, I think, a little bit orangey, and I prefer like the yellow undertone rather than the slightly orangey one. Okay, so finally we have the M. Graham Yellow Ochre. So actually the bottle is really nice, the tube is really nice, but that could just be because I haven't used it very much. But I've always found that M. Graham paints they have a nice tube. The thing I don't like about them though, the tube, is that the opening is really, really wide. I'm just going to take the lid off just to show you. I don't know if you can see. Probably, I'm just waiting for it to focus. That's really wide, and I don't like that. I think that it's really annoying because when you're trying to put paint on your palette, a huge like blob comes out, and it's just a waste really. I don't use that much paint all the time. Sometimes I just need like a little bit if I'm doing highlights or something like that, and because this paint flows so beautifully, the peril of that is that when you like squeeze it out, it just goes like, and then you can't actually control how much comes out, and it's just wasteful in my opinion. I don't know why they make such wide openings for tubes. Does anyone know? Please let me know if there is an answer. I'm so curious, because the other brand that does this is Lucas, the brand Lucas. They have such a wide opening for their tubes. What? I don't know why. I'm so interested to know if there's a reason. So this one is, this actually has a really comprehensive information on the back, probably the best out of the three actually. It says light fastness 1, pigment natural hydrated iron oxide, which I believe is the same as the other two. Vehicle is alkaline refined walnut oil, so of course that is completely different to the other two. And the great thing about walnut oil is it doesn't yellow as much as linseed oil or darken, so that is a great advantage if you like, you know, if you're concerned about that. Conformity bloody blah. But actually it really is, and they even have their website on here, which is really good. It really is clearly written, so it's a good tube otherwise. So yeah, it's an amazing paint. The only thing is I find the tone of this colour, and it might just be me, but I feel like it has a slightly green undertone. I don't know what it is. It's either green or a little bit dull. So even though I think it's a really beautiful paint, like it flows really, really well, the actual tone of the colour, it doesn't quite do it for me personally. But there's no negative, I can't really say anything negative about these three paints. Like, even if it's just my personal opinion, you know, because one of these paints may be your favourite and you may be like shouting, no, but the Old Holland one is like the best I've ever used, or the M. Graham one is better, you don't know anything, which is also true, I don't, but I'm just saying that this is just my opinion. I do hope you enjoyed this little comparison between 3 yellow ochres. I could actually make another video comparing more yellow ochres in the future. I mean, it's so exciting, I can't even contain myself. I know it's not the most fascinating subject, but I do think that it is quite useful to see what people think of various different oil paints. There's not enough information about oil paints on YouTube at all, I don't think, because whenever I'm looking for an oil paint, I like check, I always check, you have to do that, because otherwise, you know, you might be buying something dud, and whenever I do try and check, I find no information whatsoever. Just quickly, before we do the Q&A thingy bob, I thought I would show you some of my oil paintings. So which one? I really want to show this one, which is actually my favourite so far, which is this cat drinking tea in the forest. And I didn't really have any sort of clue what I was going to paint once I started painting the cat, because I just thought, well, she'll be drinking tea and then I'll build a world around her in, you know, as I usually do. But I'm not sure if you can see it because the light is really, really like sort of reflective. So I'm just going to keep moving around and hopefully you can see. Unfortunately, the camera always focuses on my face as opposed to focusing on what I'm trying to show. There we go. We have this unicorn. Once again, the lighting is just crazy at the moment. I don't know if you can see properly, but this is a unicorn that is looking at a mushroom. This is a bit of a mushroom theme, from drinking mushrooms to looking at one. And perhaps this mushroom is so magical it can make a wish. I don't know. Finally, I decided to paint a sheep. I need to expand my repertoire of painting other animals because I have been stuck in a bit of a rut, just painting, you know, cats and bunnies and what other things do I paint? No, probably just that. So I had to sort of, yeah, as I say, expand what I'm doing. And yeah, I do hope you like this little sheep. A unicorn sheep or a sheep unicorn. Perhaps it depends on its mood and who it is. So finally, just something fun, just a TikTok Q&A, which is good because it can be relaxing after that intense oil paint discussion. So, okay, so first of all, this is from TikTok. This is just a random quiz. They sometimes just come up and it's an either or. What would you rather do, save an unknown child or play GTA 6 early? I have never actually played GTA, and when I actually saw this, this is really bad, don't tell anyone, but when I actually saw this question, I thought, what is GTA? Is that Grand Theft Auto? It must be, surely. I've never actually played it, yes, so playing GTA 6 would cause me no excitement, but I think it's very worrying if you know someone who would actually select the GTA answer, because playing a video game early over saving a child is somewhat concerning. The TikTok audience is morally corrupt because they all said they'd rather play GTA, 85%, which is a crazy high number. Would you rather never have to sleep again or never have to eat again? I don't think anyone would want to stop eating, in my opinion, even if you did like never had to. I think to never have to sleep again because you just have so much more time. So I think most people would have said never having to sleep again. I think I'm sure I'm right. I understand the TikTok people. Oh, there was no answer. What? Okay. I don't think this is a reliable quiz. Next question. Would you rather have a personal driver or a personal chef? Ooh, I would rather have a personal driver because even though I can drive, I do not enjoy driving at all. And I like other people driving. I like sitting there and relaxing, but me, myself driving, no, it's not my favourite thing. So I would actually get a driver, and a personal chef to me would be a terrible idea because then I would just eat and do nothing but eat. And yeah, and probably until I popped. Question. Oh no, sorry. Everyone said personal chef, which is, you know, I think it was like 65% or something said personal chef, which again shows how many people hate cooking, myself included actually. Okay, next question. Would you rather have the ability to control the minds of others, or have the ability to control have the ability to read a question, or have the ability to control probability and luck? Well, of course, if you had the ability to control probability and luck, you could make yourself really super rich very quickly. And I mean, you could do that as well if you had the ability to control the minds of others, but I don't have any desire to control the minds of other people, because I think you would lose out on actually being able to talk to people and connect with them, and you know, you would take away their personality. Probability and luck is more morally correct. That's such a boring answer, isn't it? Let's see what people think. I should have been more rogue and said the first one. I know everyone is going to say, oh no, they all agreed with me. Would you rather be able to teleport to any place on Earth or explore outer space? Oh, definitely be able to teleport to any place on Earth. I hate flying. I love travelling, but I hate flying. So that would eliminate my fear. That would eliminate, you know, actually getting on a plane. As I've said many times, I have travelled quite a lot, but I just still hate going on planes. I do go on them, but I hate going on them. I particularly want to explore space. I just think it is something that is beyond human physical possibility. I just don't feel like we're humanly equipped to cope with the conditions in space. So that's why I would say no to that, because I've heard so many stories about astronauts going into space and then they've gone blind, or they've lost their hearing, or they've come back onto Earth after being in space and their body hasn't really adjusted to the world for years and years and years, and they still are suffering the after effects. And I just think it's not worth it. It's not worth it. 6% said teleportation, because lots of people secretly have a fear of flying. I wish. Next question. Would you rather live without music or live without movies and TV shows? Oh, that is so hard. That is a really hard question. But then in movies, you wouldn't have music either, would you? You wouldn't have any soundtracks or anything, which would also be awful. I don't know. I can't decide. I think I would probably say I can't live without music, and I actually think that everyone in the vote will say music. But you know, it's actually really difficult, and I don't think I can live without either. And a question, because it's so late, unfortunately. Would you rather have an unsettling smile all the time, or have a constant poker face? Oh my goodness. Oh, that's actually hard. But I think having an unsettling smile, that would be unsettling. Like, you would unsettle yourself if you're constantly smiling in a really sort of spooky way. I don't think it necessarily would be good to have like a permanent fixed smile on your face, because say if you're like on the bus or something and you're just like creepily smiling at someone, they might think, you know, why is that person smiling at me? And they might get angry, or they might think, hey, you know, they might think you're interested in them, and they might be creepy too. So I would say a constant poker face, even though it's kind of depressing. Actually, though, technically, if you're always smiling, even if it is an unsettling smile, you'll probably live longer, because, you know, they say smiling makes you live longer because it's, you know, good for you. Because most people said the smiling one. I mean the poker face. I hope you all enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you soon. Oh, and my paintings are going to be available on Etsy when they are finished.